nimm das Mehl bei der Hand.
Hey, just getting out of the car. Oh my God. Good, Eric?
Yeah.
All right, boys. Get out, get in the shade. Get in the shade.
Is that yours?
Yes, it is.
I love it.
Yeah.
There's a thing, there's something for 250. It is Marine National Day.
I'm going to go with Greg. Yeah, you're wearing steel. Yep. All right. I was doing that in school the other week.
Individual, General of the Army, George C. Marshall, Chief of Staff, Uniontown, Pennsylvania. General Henry H. Arnold, Army Air Force Commander, Gladwin. Carl Spots became commander of the American Strategic Air Forces. He's from Boyertown, Pennsylvania. General Jacob L. Devers, commander of the 6th Army Group, York. General Joseph T. McNamee, Deputy Allied Commander, Mediterranean, Emporium, Pennsylvania. General Lewis H. Brereton, Commander of the 1st Allied Airborne Army, Pittsburgh. Lieutenant General Alexander M. Patch, Commander of the 7th Army from Lebanon, Pennsylvania. Admiral Harold R. Stark, Commander of American Naval Forces in Europe, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. General Lyman Lemitzer was on General Eisenhower's staff from Honesdale, Pennsylvania. Admiral Richard S. Edwards was Deputy Chief of Naval Operations from Philadelphia, and Admiral Thomas C. Kincaid, Commander of the 7th Fleet, PTO, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, the Honorable Mayor of the Reading, Pennsylvania, Honorable Eddie Moran.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, everyone. Before my part, I want to please acknowledge our current and past servicemen. Thank you so much for your service. Truly honor, and it's a privilege to count myself an American because of the sacrifices that each and every one of you men and women have done for us. Local industries contributed to the war efforts. Many of these Reading and Berks companies earned Army/Navy E awards in World War II for excellence in industrial production. Birdsboro Steel Foundry, Boyertown Auto Body Works in Boyertown, Berkeley Underwear Company in Hamburg, Carpenter Steel Company in Reading, Crescent Brass Works in Reading, Fleetwood Craftsmen Incorporated, Fleetwood, National Union Radio Corporation, Revisonia, Nolde and Horse, Reading, Herman D. Oriski, Reading, Narrow Fabric, West Reading, Orr and Sembauer, Reading, Parish Press Steel, Reading, Pennsylvania Electric Steel Casting Company, Hamburg, Price Battery Corporation, Line Storage, Battery Division, Reading Air Chutes, West Reading, Reading Hardware, Reading, Reading Railroad, Reading, Textile Machine Works, West Reading, Wyomissing Industry Foundry, West Reading, Vanity Fairs Mills, West Reading, and Wilson Products, Reading. And those are few. So thank you all for their service and commitment to serve our war veterans.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next we have County Commissioner Michael Rivera.
Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the history and the month and years through World War II. I'm going to start with December of 1941. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor, 107 county residents got draft notices as 5 draft boards in Reading and 1 in Berks County ramped up operations. Reading schools hold first air raid drills, and nurses' aides organized in anticipation of casualties. In January of 1942, some of the highlights were: sale of new cars were banned. Air raid siren system undergoes the first test. The all clear is car horns honking the V for victory in Morse code. Da. A pilot school was established at the Reading Municipal Airport. In February of 1942, Birdsboro Steel Foundry announces $1 million expansion for war production. Unknown Berks County soldier killed in action. Federal government gives $2 million to make Reading Airport one of the largest in the East and becomes the Reading Army Airfield in 1943. So a lot of history at the Reading Regional Airport. In April of 1942, Reading teacher donates 51 homing pigeons to the Army Signal Corps. Berks Civil Defense units tested in blackout invasion drill. And General Carl Spaatz of Boyertown becomes commander of Allied Air Forces in North Africa. Now continue with Commissioner Christian Leinbach.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Rivera. Continuing with events during World War II, February 1943, shoe rationing starts. Registration held for War Rationing Book Number 2. War Manpower Commission lists non-deferrable occupations. July of 1943, Berks County farmers enroll in War Crop Production Program. Victory Rally marks 4th of July in Reading City Park. August 1943, drafting of fathers discussed. Frigate USS Reading is launched in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, and first statewide daytime air raid is held. September 1943, war workers forego Labor Day celebration and numerous county fairs go into hibernation for the duration of the war. And October 1943, Reading Burke's Industry and Farms will go on to supply shoes, mittens, uniforms, parachutes, steel, shells, guns, farm products, rail services, and military vehicles, most produced by women workers referred to as Rosie the Riveters. Our next speaker is State Representative Barry Joswiak, representative for the 5th District.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a very pleasurable day for me to be here. I'm a veteran myself, and I just want to remind everybody to think about all the military people that are serving in the armed forces right now throughout the world, keeping us safe. So, you know, my dad was in World War II, and he was in the Army Air Corps. He was stationed out of England. They were doing bombing runs over Germany. He met my mother, who was an English lady, and I'm the product of that meeting. So I just want to tell you a little bit about 1944. So in 1944, Reading greets the new year with the hope of victory as conscientious objectors make up shortage of attendance at Wernersville State Hospital. In March of 1944, the first twin-engine amphibious plane visits Reading Army Airfield. At one point, over 300 B-24 bombers will be located there. In April 1944, the Liberty ship SS Paul Hamilton blows up in the Mediterranean Sea after a German torpedo ignited the cargo, which was full of explosives. All hands were killed, including 41 men from Pennsylvania, and 4 of whom were from Reading. May of 1944, Reading honors war dead on the 3rd Memorial Day of World War II. As fighting expands globally, and so do the casualty lists. In June of 1944, Berks County soldiers and sailors are among the 7,000 Allied ships and 133,000 Allied troops that landed in Normandy, France, to begin the land attack towards Nazi Germany. That will be forever known as D-Day, June 6, 1944. And in December 1944, Berks County has 25,000 men and women in service on the 3rd anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor. And now I'd like to introduce my colleague in Harrisburg, Representative Mark Gillen.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being out here today. I know it's very hot, so I'm going to move as quickly as possible. We're going to continue the timeline. January 1945 opens the final year of World War II, and Berks soldiers were active and committed in the field. And the last German offensive, significant offensive, was known as the Battle of the Bulge. And of course, the Allies were successful. Berks soldiers, sailors, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen in February of 1945 continued closing in on Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. And as U.S. and Allied soldiers advanced deeper into Germany, they discovered what we refer to today as the Holocaust, and Berks Countyans were liberators. Jim Swope over here, his father, Richard Swope, was a liberator at a concentration camp, and so we're deeply indebted to him and other Berks Countyans, and it was really the first outside witness of the horrors of Nazi Germany and the concentration camps that we were exposed to. And ironically, it wasn't until the 1960s that our scholars and our writers began to use that term, Holocaust, and it was in 1978, you may recall, the mini-series starring Meryl Streep to push it really into widespread use in terms of language. Closing out April the 30th, Hitler is dead. I can remember an old newspaper that was in my grandmother's basement in Philadelphia for many years. Half the newspaper, you look at the front page of it, was Hitler dead. And so as May 1945 opened, Hitler is dead, and Reading mothers with sons in Ito cautiously celebrated VE or the Victory in Europe Day on May the 8th, 1945. And if you were on Penn Street at that time, you'd find it pretty busy, pretty crowded with celebration. And so with the Army, Marines, and Navy engaged Okinawa, there was still brutal fighting going on there, and an enemy that would not surrender and chose death rather than surrender. And so many of our servicemen in the Pacific Theater, my dad, one of them, feared that they might not see the Golden Gate until 1948. The Golden Gate Bridge, many of those coming in from overseas would have seen that first, but war plans were on the table already for the war to be going into 46 and 47. And finally, in June, July, and August of 1945, in the Pacific Theater, the Japanese continued a very stiff resistance and the use of suicide kamikaze weapons. My dad's aircraft carrier, the USS Hancock, he was on at the time, was hit by a kamikaze. They refused to surrender, and it led to the use of the atomic bombs at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And of course, when final victory was won and declared on August 15th of 1945, these streets were filled with joy. And in a memorial note, and we dedicate this program to their memory, there were 621 sons of Reading Berks County gave their lives in the U.S. Army in World War II. An uncounted number of Reading Berks Navy, Marine, and Coast Guardsmen also lost their lives too. We still have those that are missing in action. So thank you for being here. God bless you, and God bless America. Jim.
Okay, thank you very much for attending and observing Reading, Berks County, and Pennsylvania's role in World War II as part of the 275th celebration of the city of Reading. Thanks for attending. We'll be here for about another hour with entertainment and food, and I think Laura would like to... Oh, the drawing? All right, what do they have to do? Register? How do they do? Yeah.
Hi. Thanks to the Mid-Atlantic Air Museum World War II Weekend Air Show, we have 4 free tickets to the air show this weekend. We're giving them away in sets of 2 and 2. It's free to enter. You just go over to that blue tent and put your name and phone number on a ticket, and we'll do the drawing at 1 o'clock. All right? That's it? Okay. Anything else, Jim? You good?
No. Tell the band to hit it.
All right. And we'll go back to music.
I don't know. So we